Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first hybrid meeting of the Town of Thompson and Wetlands Commission. My name is George O'Neill. I'm chair of the commission, and myself and the other commissioners will be present this evening. It's June 14th, 2022. I'm calling the meeting to order. Before we get too far into it, I would like to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded, that will adhere to what we refer to as Zoom protocols, which essentially means that if you are going to speak, please turn on your camera if possible, if it's available. And we'd like to see you. You have to identify yourself, name and address, please, in the town of Thompson. Please speak clearly and raise your hand to be recognized in those sections of the commission meeting that allow for citizens' comments. There are two sections, one in the beginning and one toward the end. And during that period, you're allowed to comment on matters that have been listed on the agenda. So we encourage that. In addition, if you're representing or a petitioner or an applicant and speaking on behalf of your client, or you are the applicant, please, again, if you have documents that haven't been provided in advance, please hold them up to the camera so that everyone can see them and that they can be made part of the record, okay, the corporate record. So that's the goal there. Then email them to in the Wetlands Commission, to Marla Butts, so that she is able to include them as part of our official documents. With that being said, I'm going to have a roll call. Commissioners I see present, Commissioner Obert.
Present.
Commissioner Morano.
Present.
Commissioner Chapin.
Present.
Who am I missing?
Nobody.
And again, I'm here, George O'Neill. So we have a quorum. We also have our inland wetlands agent, Marla Butts, present for who's also conducting the hosting activities. Please keep in mind also that we want to be civil, and if things get out of order, we can have you removed from the. My instruction will have you removed. So we've never had that problem, and I don't expect any. But just be aware of the fact. Moving on to the next. There are no alternates to appoint, so we'll skip that. Action on minutes of previous meetings, the minutes of, looking at the dates here, May 10th, 2022. Any modifications or corrections to those minutes? Commissioner Obert? I can't hear you.
See any. I didn't notice any.
All right. Any other commissioner?
No, I didn't notice any either. It's Diane. They look okay.
It was brought to my attention, I believe, by staff, by Marla, that there's a correction needed to the URL, the universal reference locator, the link. Apparently, it's directing us to the wrong place. So we'll have to have that amended. So I guess we'll need a motion for that. So if someone would give me a motion to amend the connectivity so that the audience or the citizens are able to link to the actual recording.
I'll make the motion that the website be adjusted to reflect the accurate URL.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah, Commissioner Chapin, I'll second it.
A motion made and second to correct the URL for the meeting of May 10th, 2022. All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion is carries, and the meeting minutes will be amended in the form of the amended URL. Moving on to the next item would be the site walk minutes of June 11th, 2022.
So Marla Butts speaking. There was no meeting held because there was only Chair George O'Neill in attendance. So I did file a memo to the town clerk advising her of that so that there would be no confusion when they see an agenda with no minutes associated with it.
Thank you. So moving on to the next item, citizens' comments on agenda items for this evening. If you'd like to be recognized, raise your hand or We have a fairly small group. Let us know you want to speak.
Oh, I need to be able to see that, correct? If somebody has
Right.
raised their hand.
Well, I'm looking here too. I don't see anyone, but we'll give,
Okay.
sometimes you have to get your cursor right. I don't see any
I don't
hands
see
being
any
raised.
hands up or anything. Okay.
No, it's a first run, it takes a little getting used to it.
Yes, please bear with me. It's the first time I've ever hosted.
Yeah, you're doing good so far. So good work. All right, moving on. I don't hear any, so we're going to move on to the next item. Applications, old applications. WAA 22009, Thomas Dolan Jr., 0 New Road, Assessors Map 154, Block 5, Lot 10A. New single-family home, well and driveway in 100-foot upland review area, stamped received on 4/19/22, issued 5/23/22. Legal notice to be published on 6/10/22. End of appeal period, 6/25/22. What's required of this, Marla?
Marla Beth speaking. This was actually published, the legal notice was, so at the time the agenda was posted, the legal notice was not yet published, so that's why it said to be published. So it has an end of appeal period. There's no action required by the commission at this time.
Okay, no further action. On to the next item. IWA 22010, Mark Simon, 0 Sandam Road, Assessors Map 133, Block 24, Lot 23. Fill wetlands for driveway crossing and new home, septic and well, mostly in 100-foot upland review area. Stamped received on 5/3/22 to be statutorily received on 5/10/22. I believe this is the property we took a look at.
Yes, this was statutorily received at the last meeting. And I believe Daniel Blanchette is here because there has been some revised plans, and Mr. Simon is here in person.
Thank you very much. I see Mr. Blanchette. If you would like to present on behalf of your client, and as part of that, and for the record, of course, Daniel, identify yourself and your organization.
Of course. Thank you, George. My name is Daniel Blanchette. I'm a licensed civil engineer with J&D Civil Engineers out of Thompson. I'm here tonight on behalf of my client, Mark Simon. Mark is proposing to buy a vacant property in town and construct a new single-family home for himself. The site is located at the intersection of Sandam Road and Babula Road. It's about 17.5 acres in size, so it's a pretty sizable lot. The property has a couple existing agricultural fields, hay fields. It's my understanding that Fort Hill Farms mows those a couple times a year. And there's a lot of swamp. There's a very large portion of swamp, and there's an intermittent stream that crosses across the site. Mr. Simon would like to build his house towards the center of the site, and so he is proposing to construct a wetland crossing to access that area. I think we talked a lot about this at the last meeting, but there are a couple updates. I don't know if we could pull up the site plan.
We're working on it. I believe you should be able to see it by now.
Yes, I see it. Yep. So there's been a couple changes. First of all, we finished designing the septic system. That hadn't been fully designed at our last meeting. There's also a detached garage on the south side of the property, and that was moved a bit further from the wetlands. That moved about 10 feet to the northwest, so it's almost right outside the upland review area. And then the most important change is at the front field off of Babula Road, my client is proposing to install some solar panels, an array of photovoltaics to provide electricity for his house, and also some fruit trees as well. So that work will occur within the upland review area. Yes, thank you. Those are the panels and the fruit trees. Otherwise, I'd be happy to answer any questions or to go into more detail about anything.
Thank you, Mr. Blanchette. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Blanchette? For Mr. Simon? Mr. Obert? Commissioner
Yes,
Obert?
Charlie Obert here. Question about the location of the solar panels. Is that the best location? It seems like if they were up behind the garage, they would be further away from the wetlands and should still be in where they can get sunlight.
I feel that this is the best location for them. If they were in the center field, towards the house, I think they'd be a little bit unsightly. They would take up a big portion of the yard. And actually, I think they're going to get really good sun where they are. There's some small trees along the road that we're proposing to take out. Again, little 4-inch trees. We're going to cut those down. And so I think they'll get very good solar exposure in that area.
Question for Daniel, Marla Butt speaking. Daniel, did you get any response from DEEP on the natural diversity database?
I have not heard anything, no.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, Chairman O'Neill speaking, how many, what wattage are you putting out with that PV array?
I don't totally know. I think the size is a little bit approximate. We could end up with 2 of those arrays. We could end up with 4. Excuse me. I don't know if Mr. Simon has done any work calculating how many watts he might need.
Yes, Mark.
Could you go to the
No, you have to
speaker,
go to the speaker, Mr.
the stand over there?
Over here, Mr. Simon.
Yeah, Mark Simon here. Yeah, I haven't consulted with a solar company at all on what we would install for solar panels. So, I mean, I have to, that's work that still needs to be done. I think Daniel just wanted to propose where we thought the best location was for the best exposure to sunlight and kind of out of the way of the project, the building project, as well as the yard. So that's as far as we've gotten so far.
I was just curious, yeah, it's sustainability and all that in this day and age, and typical house would probably have, it's an engineering question, but I don't know, 10 or 15 kW would probably cover most homes to sustain most things, although I suppose if you turn on the electric oven and the dryer at the same time, you might have a challenge, but I guess, it's some, are you also, as part of that, do you plan to, Mr. Simon, do you plan to have storage of this energy? Because they have the, I know Tesla and others have battery or some consolidated storage, or you haven't quite advanced that?
Yeah, we haven't, I haven't looked at that yet. It's a good question. We had talked about battery packs that we can install in the basement next to the electric panel for storage. I am still planning on putting in a gas powered, propane powered generator, especially for the well. But yeah, I'm not sure yet what we'll do as far as storage of energy from the photovoltaic panels at this point. So good questions though, for sure.
Just curious, yeah, and I guess that's probably permitting of that would be outside of the inland wetlands, would be to planning and zoning, would have a separate regulation governing that, I guess, so. Thank you, Mr. Simon, I'm just curious about that. I did personally walk the site with Marla and found it to be, it's a beautiful place, and it's a lot of things to recommend it.
I have one question, Marla Butt speaking for Daniel. What is the sequence of construction for the crossing? Because I don't really see any erosion and sediment controls on the downstream slope of the driveway crossing. So could you explain what type of material is going to be the surface of the driveway, and what is the sequence of construction anticipated for the driveway construction?
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm going to pull up the site plan on my computer here. At the bottom left corner of sheet 3, I do have some construction sequence notes. But basically, the idea is that this work will be done very quickly during the dry season. It'll be done in a couple days, probably in August. And so I wasn't really proposing any serious erosion control there because it is an intermittent water course. It's going to dry up pretty soon.
So your anticipated time of construction is during low flow?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
And the embankments that would be subject to potential erosion look like they're going to be stoned with riprap of some sort?
Yes, at the center, it will be covered with riprap. And then on the very outsides, once we get outside the actual wetlands, outside the actual water course, then it'll be loamed and seeded.
Could you explain why you have 2 culverts that are located 5 feet apart?
Of course. So in this situation, there's not a well-defined channel. It's really, I don't know, anywhere 10 to 15 feet wide, maybe an inch to a half inch deep. There's not an obvious channel. It almost has 2 natural channels. And so we want to try and follow that hydraulics as much as possible.
Were there any calculations done for the sizing of the pipes?
No, so what we did is we looked at the pipe that goes under Babula Road and we doubled it. I think the watershed for the wetland crossing is probably only 1-2% bigger. And so doubling the culvert should have a very large amount of conservatism built into the design, and we didn't have to perform the rigorous calculations.
So it shows on your site plan that you have an 18-inch RCP under Babula Road. And then the pipe sizes under the driveway are what?
They should be two 18-inch pipes. Let me see.
18-inch twin.
Yeah, twin 18-inch HDPE pipes, yes.
Yeah, there I see it. Okay. That's all the questions that I have. I have no objection to the issuance of a permit for this, even though we have not gotten anything back from DEEP. The proposal is to develop an area that's currently been manipulated by agricultural activities repeatedly. So the likelihood of having endangered species within that area is highly unlikely. And the fact that the Natural Diversity Database identifies the area located to the west, let me shrink this back down. Go back up to here. The area that's considered critical habitat, which is a new kind of designation that the Natural Diversity Database has identified. We found it the first time with the Reardon Road property last month. And that is located in the area that I'm identifying on the screen now. So the fact that the work is occurring in the field well enough away from that critical habitat, although it does come into this property, I don't see that that's going to be a problem. The fact that the DEP has not responded yet to the request for review.
Yeah, there's no work of any kind. Sorry, Daniel with J&D again. There's no work of any kind proposed in that critical habitat area. No tree cutting, no construction, no earth disturbance. We really tried to stay as far away from it as we could.
Okay. So at this juncture, do any of the other commissioners, Commissioner Morano, Chapin, have questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Morano.
Pardon my ignorance, but with the solar panels, how does it get routed to the house?
Yeah, excellent question. So there will be underground utility trenches from the solar panels out to the driveway. And then under the driveway, there will be electric conduit installed.
Oh, that's great.
So it looks like a lot of important, Commissioner Chapin, any questions?
No, I don't have any.
Right then, next steps would be, do we have to,
Entertain a motion to approve the application or come up with whatever additional information that you want to see, because you don't have to render a decision until next month,
right,
unless you have some additional information you want the applicant to supply. It's appropriate to render a decision today.
okay,
I have a question. Could
Yes.
could the motion be entertained with the condition that some sort of information be received from DEP on the diversity database there?
Marla Butt speaking. In that case, I would recommend not taking an action at this month, but do it next month.
But is that one of the conditions that they were waiting for, that feedback?
The standard operating procedure is when a piece of property has a hit on the Natural Diversity Database, you have usually asked for that information to be received in a timely fashion. So you do have until next month to render decision. So it could come in between then and now. I mean,
Okay.
now and then.
Right.
So
Thank you.
You don't have to render a decision today, but I don't think it's appropriate to render a decision that says you're approving it on the condition that you receive an adequate response from NDDB. the natural
Okay.
database.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Commissioner Obert,
Yes, Charlie Obert here. Keeping in mind what Marla reminded us is that the 17 acres is largely a reworked agricultural site, and that the work that is being proposed in this application is not in the wetlands. My personal preference would be keep it as far away from the 100-foot buffer as possible. But looking at what we know about that property, I agree with what I think I heard Marla say, that the likelihood of any of these threatened species being in that field are vanishingly small.
Charlie, Marla Butt speaking. There is work in wetlands, but it's not in the area identified as critical habitat. If you look at the screen, critical habitat is located to the north and west of the property. The work in the wetlands is on the south side of the agricultural field. That is not in the area of critical habitat identified by the Natural Diversity Database. If that answers the question a little better.
Daniel with J&D again. If I could interject, I've worked on a lot of projects like this in this area. DEEP always comes back with a response that says, yes, endangered species may exist. Sometimes they require a biological survey. Sometimes they tell us we shouldn't build anything. But the regulations require me to notify them. They don't require us to get a response. We don't need any kind of permit from DEEP necessarily. And my client, Mark Simon, does have a purchase and sales agreement for this property with some aggressive deadlines. So if the commission would at all consider approving us tonight, we would be very grateful.
thank you, Ms. Blanchett. So I know that I walked the site, and it, from looking at the material, the proximity of it, it appeared to be, centered on the east corner of the higher elevated area, and it seemed to be, from indications, to be well drained. You wouldn't initially assume it was in the wetlands to begin with, I think, because of the agricultural activity that's been there for how many years. And so I guess at this point, given what we know, do I have a commissioner that would want to make a motion to approve this application at this time?
George, it's Diane. I would make the motion, but can you give me the screen back? There we go. Commissioner Chapin, I'm making a motion to approve IWA 22010, Mark Simon, 0 Sandam Road, Assessor's Map 133, Block 24, Lot 63, fill wetlands for a driveway crossing a new home, septic and well, mostly in 100-foot upland review area, stamp received 5/3/22, statutorily received 5/10/22.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have motion made and seconded to approve the application. Any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion, we'll go to a vote. I'll go by order. Commissioner Obert,
Aye.
Commissioner Chapin,
Aye.
Commissioner Morano.
Aye.
Okay, the vote is all in favor with no opposition. The applicant has been approved by the Inland Wetlands Commission.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Blanchett and Mr. Simon. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the next application, we have IWA 22011 DH Copeland Builder Inc. 119 New Road, Assessors Map 154, Block 3, Lot 21. 10-foot extension of 15-inch culvert under existing driveway to widen driveway by 6 feet. Electronically received on 5/5/22 to be statutorily received 5/10/22. Note the driveway was initially authorized by WAA 21016. So Marla, I know that when we took a look, walked this on Saturday, and perhaps you could give us some insight into your view of what we know about this.
Yeah, we're just trying to make sure there's nobody in the waiting room for
Oh.
this. Okay, so The site location is off of New Road. There's been a number of applications that were around New Road. And this was 119. And when this application first came through, the original construction of the home had a wetlands agent approval for the work to put in the driveway. At that time, the upland review area was located on the other, started from wetlands on the other side of New Road, on the southwest side of New Road. But when I went out to take a look at it this spring, there was water flowing through a channel that is located on the adjoining property on lot 9 and came down and into this culvert, so that when the builder, D.H. Copeland Builders, decided that they wanted to widen the driveway, I told them that I couldn't process it as a wetlands agent approval because there was water running through the ditch line all the way coming from up the hill. So if you look at the map that was up here, the water starts up on lot 117 New Road and comes down into undeveloped land that ultimately has a driveway that abuts 119 New Road. And so I told the builder that he'd have to come in for an individual permit to extend that culvert. On Saturday, even though there was no wetlands meeting, I did take George out to view the site, and with the permission of the abutting property owner, we drove up the driveway. There was no water flowing along New Road at all. The channel was dry. And as we drove up through the driveway on the abutting property, water started to appear in the channel at about where the house is. And then we traced that all the way back up to lot 117. Yeah, to 117. So there's a question about what happened at lot 117 because there's water pouring out of a hole in the ground, actually a stone waterfall in front of the house going into a pond that never existed before that house was built. So I'm currently investigating that to try to figure out what was going on. Why is there all of a sudden now water flowing for more than just a storm incident out of this property? I've been given some information that when the well was drilled for lot 17, they ended up having an artesian condition and they allowed the surplus water to go into an area that excavated a hole in the ground to create a pond. But as the groundwater table drops, that pond's going to dry up and the artesian condition might be drying up also. So that issue is under investigation. So I don't have any objection to the extending of this culvert because now there's no water flowing in, there's no intermittent water course at this location flowing, but it does have water flowing in the springtime. That's when I first observed it. So if the condition up on 117, I get the street numbers actually, 117 is fixed and addressed, all this water flowing through, and that there's a question about whether or not 117 has the right to discharge this water onto the neighboring property the way they're doing it. So I would recommend that the commission receive the application last month, and I would recommend that it approve and grant the extension, the 10-foot extension of the culvert of the existing driveway. There is one other issue that exists on this property, which I'm also investigating, is all the roof drains on the house. You see where my hand is on the screen? There is a drain that is not shown on the building plans from the roof that discharges right into the channel, onto the abutting property. And that is not appropriate for them to drain it that way. So I will be talking to the builder regarding the installation of a dry well for that roof runoff. Because the neighboring property owner asked the question, do they have the right to drain that in? And it's not shown on the building permit. I believe this house already has a certificate of occupancy though. So I don't know how much I'll be able to address that issue. But I will ask the builder to install a dry well for the roof runoff. But I don't have any objection to extending the pipe. However, the builder is going to have to go back to the town to get a modification of their driveway permit, because where they want to extend the pipe is actually on town property. It's not on the property of the lot.
Okay, covered a lot of ground there, Marla. So the issue, I guess, to summarize is that you want to put a 10-foot extension on the 15-inch culvert. But I think you noted that at the end here that extension would then put it on town property.
Correct.
All
That's
right.
why you get a driveway permit. So
So you
they
get a
have to
separate
go
permit.
back and get a driveway permit to extend that culvert.
So the two-phase process, if the commission felt it would wish to approve this, then that's one step. Then the next step would be to the driveway permit.
Correct.
All right. So based on the analysis provided by our inland wetlands agent, Marla Butts, I also would add that I accompanied her during the site inspection, which essentially covered all the points. It was pretty dry in general. I mean, there was water, obviously, as noted, but the subject of this application is the extension of the culvert, which did not appear to me to pose any, significant issue. Would I think only improve based on what I saw, the situation, prevented perhaps from becoming clogged in the future. So those are my observations, but I ask the commissioners if they have any questions or comments. Commissioner Obert.
Yes, Charlie Obert here. I wasn't there on Saturday, but Marla and I went out a few weeks ago and looked at the property. And it causes me to wonder, and I suppose we should deal with this first, but it causes me to wonder that there seems to be missing requirements in the planning and zoning code before a bond is released after mining is done. This issue was never considered. And now we're looking at all these complications, and all these neighbors have water running and off the roof and down the gully and all this stuff. It seems like it could have been prevented if there was a more complete assessment of the property.
Marla Butts speaking. I have inquired with the zoning enforcement officer as to whether or not there was an as-built drawing supplied for the gravel mining operation. She was going to go look, but the mining operation initially was approved prior to her employment when Marion Ciannotti was the town planner at the time. So I don't have an answer on whether or not there was ever an as-built showing what the grades were and what the conditions were after the mining operation was done. The application for the development of these lots came in part and parcel to the mining operation. And there is a need for the Planning and Zoning Commission to make sure that when they have a mining operation, that at the end of the mining operation, before they release the bond, that they get an as-built drawing to show what the actual grades are at the end. I don't know if one exists for these properties. It clearly shows the ditch line on the site plan, though. You can see it in this application. So whoever developed up the site plan for this lot identified that as existing at that time.
So is Charlie Obert here again. Do we need to make an approval of the application so that this work can progress, or do we have to let them get the driveway permit straightened out first?
Marla Butts speaking. I think you need to make a decision on the application, and then the driveway permit requirements are just that they meet certain requirements for the paved apron, and that the town finds that drainage system acceptable under the driveway ordinance. So I would say that the inland wetlands permit should come first, and then they apply for the driveway permit.
Okay. Thank you, Marla. So do we have a motion to accept? The
Approved, it would be.
approve the application. Commissioner Obert,
Charlie over here. I'll make a motion that we approve the IWA 22011 TH Copeland Builders Incorporated at 119 New Road, Assessors Map 154, Block 3, Lot 21.
No, two I.
oh, is that what it is? Okay,
That's an I.
it's an I, to be correct. Thank you.
Okay, 2I. 10-foot extension of a 15-foot culvert under the existing driveway to widen the driveway by 6 feet.
Have a motion,
Commissioner Chapin, I'll second it.
have a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the application is approved as made. Moving on to the next before I move on to new applications, I want to point out something in our agenda, which I meant to raise earlier before I forget. Our last, we amended the agenda items.
The bylaws.
The bylaws were amended to change the agenda items, so there'll be two citizens' comment sections. One in the initial beginning of the meeting, which is listed as item D, another to come immediately following item H. So I propose that we amend the existing agenda to re-letter the agenda items making I, citizens' comments, reports in sequence would be J, K, L, and M. So that's my motion to amend the agenda.
I'll second that.
Who was that?
That was Commissioner Obert, seconded?
Yes.
Okay, the motion's made and seconded. Do I have a, do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of amending the agenda as outlined?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the agenda for this meeting has been amended to incorporate the citizens' comments as item I immediately following other business. Thank you. Moving on to the next item, new applications. We have WAA 22012, Mark and Lori Eddington, 76 Lightning Road, Assessors Map 137, Block 21, Lot 17A. Construction of a 32-foot by 24-foot detached garage with driveway access located within the 100-foot upland review area. Stamped received on 5/9/22, issued 5/23/22. Legal notice published 6/10/22. End of appeal period 6/25/22. Okay, Marla, what do we have in details on this?
So this application came in, I'll scroll through the application form, which is in the Zoom documents, and go to the diagram that was provided for by the applicant. This was originally part of a subdivision that had the wetlands flag. The original upland review area when the subdivision went through was only 50 feet. So now it's double that, it's 100 feet. So you can see on the drawing where he wanted to place a 24 by 32 detached garage, and the driveway that he has will be modified to carry the driveway up to the detached garage. So originally he was just applying for the garage, and I suggested that he might want to include the driveway. It doesn't have it detailed out very much, but it's more than 50 feet away from the wetlands themselves. It's a drainage way that drains to the west, because the north arrow on this would be to the right hand of the screen, and it drains into open space that was deeded over to the town back when the subdivision went in. It's fairly flat. He gave us a photograph from MapGeo using aerial photography. This looks like it's a 2019 aerial. I'm not sure. But he marks where the garage is going to be in location to his current driveway. And he also shows the two-foot contours that were developed in 2016. So you can see he's putting the garage in the lawn as well as he's surrounded by lawn. The lawn actually will act as a vegetative buffer to the wetlands. There are wetlands that are located to the rear, but they're well away outside of the 100-foot upland review area. So what causes the garage to be subject to jurisdiction is a little wetland strip that occurs along the Lentian Road and drains to the southeast. Because north in this area, would be to the north, to up, go up. So I issued a wetlands agent approval for that because I felt could be no real impact to the wetlands or water courses. So there's no action required by the commission at this time.
Thank you, Marla. Any questions for Marla on this point? Okay, hearing none. Moving on to the next item, WAA 22013, Eddie Yosef, 274 Riverside Drive, Assessors Map 87, Block 95, Block 39. Construct commercial building on existing foundation for non-medical cannabis facility. Stamp received on 5/23/22. Under review.
Okay, I've included the application form for your perusal, but it is a wetlands agent approval application, but it's under review because if you may or may not recall that the foundation for this building, there was a restaurant there and the restaurant burnt down. This is at the corner of West Thompson Road, Route 193 and Route 12, and it's along the river's edge. At this location, the 100-year floodplain is basically at the top of bank, and it's shown on the drawing. The applicant used a prior site plan, a survey property plan, and did not really provide any changes because he believes that he's going to be able to use the existing foundation as the structure for this new facility. And so he has already applied to planning and zoning, and he provided me with some of the same documents he provided planning zoning. So I'm just showing you here what he envisioned the structure would look like sitting on the existing foundation. Here's the concern. The picture, as I've showing you on the screen now, this is the 2016 aerial view, and the building is no longer there. And you see that there is a miniature golf located to the north end of it. And he already has a paved parking lot, so there's really not going to be, if he's using the existing foundation, there's really no grading work, there's no change in grade. However, in discussion with staff at the building office, it's unclear whether or not that foundation, after having had a building burn on top of it, whether or not it is adequate for a new construction. And if it was going to have to be replaced, then that would be a different type of application than just using the existing ground. So I need to get in touch with the applicant and ask for an engineer's certification that the building is capable of withstanding the new construction without replacement. So that is something that's going to hold up this application until that gets, I haven't yet contacted them on this. This is just something that's come up in the last day or two. So that's why it's on hold.
So, okay, so just so I understand it correctly, you're suggesting, or the concern is that the existing foundation would not adequately support new construction, and you're seeking a professional engineer licensed in the state of Connecticut to certify the structural integrity of the foundation?
Correct, because if you can't get that kind of certification, that means there's going to be earth moving work to replace the foundation, which means you're going to have erosion and sediment controls, and you're right close to the river's edge. If you look back at his plan, you will see that his foundation goes real close to the top of bank.
Right.
And my concern would be is depending on what kinds of work might be required to replace that foundation, how would the embankment remain stable? I just want to, it would entail more detail than what is currently applied for. But if you can use the current foundation, all we're talking about is construction of a stick on the foundation, a stick construction on the foundation without any earth moving work.
And that would be in the wetlands agent.
They're
approval
all
in any
in
case.
the wetlands
Yes,
agent approval, either one, but I want to make sure that I'm not going to have him come back at a later time and say, I need to replace the foundation.
And there's-
Because the building office is going to require that a licensed professional engineer certify the adequacy of the foundation. So you might as well do it now.
Okay, any questions for Marla on this point? All right, hearing none, moving on to the next item. WAA 22015, Greg and Ann Kuznick, Richard
Kuznicki.
Kuznicki, sorry. 0 Richard Bennett Lane, Assessors Map 137, Block 7, Lot 5L, construct septic system and discharge foundation drain in 100-foot upland review area. Stamp received on 6/6/22, under review pending receipt of NDDH design approval.
All right, because I don't have any DH's design approval design approval, I will not be processing this. And I just received from J&D, who did the design work for this, a revised plan. Going the wrong way, sorry. Give you the application form so you can see where it's located. And I just received them. They came in the office this afternoon. So I don't have them on the screen, but there's no action required by you until the Northeast District Department of Health has given an approval. I don't see any problem with this site as long as Northeast District Department of Health finds it acceptable. But it's on hold. No
Okay.
action required by you.
No questions? I see none. Moving on to the next item. DEC 22016. Gary Kettle, 149 Wilsonville Road, Assessors Map 77, Block 47, Lot 1. Request to install tiles for well and wetlands for irrigating plants in the Wilsonville Herb Farm store. Stamped received on 6/6/22. And I believe we have Mr. Kettle present tonight.
Mr. Kettle, if you're going to speak, you should come up to the microphone. And you'll see on the screen, I've put a location map where the farm store is. It's an old barn that's been converted to a farm store. And this is the application that he submitted for a use permitted as of right under farming, because it is a farm store. He has supplied a drawing where he wants to put the, I would call it a cistern. And he just, if I can screen share, can you see that? Yes, okay. These are, he just provided me tonight with the tiles that he wants to put in. So Mr. Kettle, why don't you describe what it is you want to do and why you want to do it?
Okay, thanks. Yes, my wife owns Wilsonville Herb Farm, and when we bought the property, there was no, when I bought the property, I didn't have an idea what I wanted to do with the barn. So my wife suggested that with her background, she wanted to sell plants. Well, there's no well on site. We went as far as putting gutters on the building, replaced the roof, metal roof with gutters, rain barrels, and we're not getting enough water for our plants. There is a area in the back that when I bought the barn was dry, and then a few months later it filled with water. So right now, presently, it's dry again. And I would like to dig a hole. I'm trying to get 12 feet. I don't know if I can get 12 feet to put these well tiles in, which it entails digging a hole, putting 3/4 inch crushed stone at the bottom, putting the concrete tiles on top with a cap on top, and then hopefully it'll fill with water. And then we should have enough water to water our plants.
So Marla Butt speaking, Mr. Kettle, where do you plan to put the excess materials that you excavate out for this?
So right now we're gonna put it to the left area, probably 20 feet away. There's an area behind our raised beds, and we're just gonna spread it out. If it turns out it's not good material, then I'll bring it home to my house and use it.
So where you see the screen and you see where the hand is, that's approximately where you want to place the
Yes,
excess material.
yes.
So this was a site that George and I visited on Saturday. And the area that had originally pooled with water would classify as wetlands, and where he wants to put the tiles is right on the edge of what I would call swamp marsh area, probably is poorly drained soils, so that he should be able to get water there if he goes down deep enough. And he does, since he's not using it for potable water, it's just using it for irrigation. The fact that he has wetlands plants, facultative wetlands plants right next door to it indicates to me that the groundwater table is at or near the surface for most of the year. It's just that it's not above the surface, it's below the surface. So I have no objection to the commission granting a use permitted as of right under agriculture.
Thank you, Marla. Commissioners, any questions regarding Mr. Kettle's, Mr. Commissioner Obert?
Yes, Charlie over here. What were the dimensions of this cistern again?
Well, the tiles are 36 inches in diameter.
Yeah, but how big of a hole?
Well, it's gonna be big enough. I propose no more than, 10 by 10. It could be, if I can get a straight hole dug down, it's gonna be no more than 10 by 10. And it's literally right on the edge. I could actually go out into the upper, grassy area for half of it, and then the other half would be us. So I'd say 5 by 5.
Marla Buttsvig, perhaps you might explain what kind of machine you would use to.
I was gonna use a mini excavator, if I can find one that'll, right now, the most of the minis that we use that are available can only go down 8 feet. So when I say hope to go 12, if I can find the one that'll go, with an extended hole that can get me deeper, then that would be great. If not, it'll be 8 feet. Either way, whatever I can get, it'll be better than what I have.
Okay, Charlie over here. What is it required of us, Marla?
You would need to approve this as a use permitted as of right. Trying to find, let me show you. You see, his form that he filed was a use permitted as of right or non-regulated use, and he has checked off grazing, farming, nursing, gardening, and harvesting of crops, which this would classify under the farming definition because he's using it to irrigate the herbs that he has at the farm stand. So you would be looking to approve the request if you find it acceptable.
I'll make the motion that we approve DEC 22016, Gary Kettle, 149 Wilsonville Road, Assessors Map 77, Block 47, Lot 1, to install, to dig a hole and then line it with tiles so that they can have water to irrigate their plants.
I'll second that.
Yeah, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion, further discussion on the matter? Hearing no discussion, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the application has been approved.
Thank you.
I'll send you a copy in the mail or electronically scanned.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to the agenda. Any applications received after agenda was published?
None.
None. Permit extensions, there are none. Violations and pending enforcement actions. Notice of violation VIOL 21023, Jamie Pettit, 0 and 73 Center Street, Assessors Map 16, Block 10, Lots H and 2, unauthorized construction of retaining wall and associated backfill in or near Little Pond, issued on 8/24/21. Status.
So as you recall, when last, I believe it was in the April meeting, you decided that you would accept the engineering review as being for the adequacy, stability of the wall, and that there was a site, an as-built, I don't know if I included it in, no, I didn't put it in. There was a a survey, a property survey done, and you had decided that as long as they filed a Mylar on the land records for that survey, that no further action would be required and they wouldn't need to come in for a permit. I was a little delayed in getting information to Jamie on this, and on Monday I sent her an email and I wrote, the Inland Wetlands Commission decided at its April 12th, 2022 meeting, a copy of the minutes is attached, that Norm Pybo's engineering evaluation was acceptable to allow the rebuilt retaining wall to remain without modification, and that if the plan Killingly Engineering Associates submitted entitled Improvement Location Survey Plan prepared for Jamie Pettit, 73 Center Street, Thompson, Connecticut, dated 12/09/2021, was filed on the Thompson land records, it would consider the violation file resolved without any requirement for the submission of an after-the-fact permit application. Please advise me of your intentions within the next 15 days regarding the filing of a Mylar signed and sealed by land surveyor Greg Glod, so that I can keep the commission informed. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. I look forward to hearing from you. So that is the status of the Jamie Pettit violation. No action is required
Yes,
until I get a
resolved.
response.
Right. Right, so we move on to the next item. Notice of permit violation VIOL 21036, permit IWA 20022, Mark Bear, 1227 Thompson Road, Assessors Map 116, Block 24, Lot 10. Grades not as authorized and modified plan approved by the commission on February 9th, 2021. Status.
Okay, so last week I went with Dan Malo to a number of sites, and this was one of the sites we looked at. And as a result, there's been no activity on the property for months. And so I had sent Dr. Bear a copy of the agenda, and he contacted me and said, what's going on? I thought everything was all settled. And I explained to them that no, it wasn't, that apparently he has lost touch with his contractor. He's been unable to contact him, and he has made several attempts. And there's equipment sitting on his site that's been sitting there for months. So he is, I gave him some suggestions as to how he might reach his contractor through his licensing, through the state. And that this issue was not resolved, and that I was going to be instructing the building office not to grant a certificate of occupancy until an acceptable as-built drawing of the site was approved by the Wetlands Commission. It appears as though he's going between the house and the little pond. There are two retaining walls currently, and there appears to be that there's going to be a third retaining wall, which Mr. Bear has indicated that was his intention. And that probably would not cause a problem to the lake, but it may have an impact on the drainage between the Bear property and the Harger property, which is where my main concern is. But in the fact that he cannot find his contractor at this point in time and nothing is happening, I will be in touch with him before next meeting to find out if he's got any additional information about locating his contractor. And that's where that stands.
Thank you.
It will remain open.
Any questions for Marla on this? I know when we drove by on Saturday, we happened to take that course. I can see the equipment is still there. I was
Yep.
curious. All right, moving on to the next item, notice violation VIOL 22008. Rodney LeMay, 0 Aquatic Town Farm Road, Assessors Map 160, Block 11, Lot 15. Unauthorized clearing, cutting, and grading in wetlands issued by acting wetlands agent on 3/21/22. Status.
Again, this is another site that Dan and I saw. We took a look at. There was been no activity. There was a letter that was sent to Mr. LeMay, and apparently that letter has been successful in stopping him from doing any further unauthorized work. That was a notice of violation that was sent on March 30th by Dan Malo while I was out. And he apparently is attended to that notice of violation. although he did not, as requested, come to the meeting in April to discuss his activities, he has not performed any further work at the site. So at this juncture, this violation file can be closed. When I looked at it, all it was some cutting of some trees that may have been in the wetlands, probably were in the wetlands. But I haven't seen any earth moving work, which would cause me a greater concern. So if it gets reactivated, then I would open up a new file.
Right,
So I'm going to be closing this file.
thank you. Next item is notice of violation VIOL 22014. Jason Chin and Danielle Lohiller, 150 Wilsonville Road, Assessors Map 77, Block 46, Lot 29, construction of detached garage, 100-foot upland review area, issued 6/6/2022. Status.
Okay, so on June 6th, 2022, I issued the notice of violation that's shown in the Zoom documents. This was a site that there was originally a building permit that came in a couple of months ago, or actually maybe a half a year ago. And by the time that I got to view the building permit application to determine whether or not it needed any approvals through the Wetlands Commission, the building had already been built. So I wrote on that building permit review sheet that, you know, the fact that it was already built and the site was stable and was in the upland review area, I wasn't going to take any further action. But now a second garage came in, also in the upland review area, and that's why I felt it was necessary to send. And that building was built before the building permit was even issued. So that's why I sent out the notice of violation. I'm not requesting they come in for any after the fact permit, but I did want them to become aware that because they've only owned the property since 2020, September of 2020. So they may not be aware of the wetlands regulations. And they do have a lot of farm animals there.
So,
This is across the street from Mr. Kettle's application that was here earlier.
oh yes, of course, yeah. So they didn't have a building permit.
They built, yeah, and they built it before, because I went out to go take a look to see if I was going to have any issues, and it was already there.
These are very light structures too. I mean, you probably,
I think they were metal, prefab metal
yeah, like you could
structures.
get a few guys and pick them up and move them probably.
They're on concrete pads.
So, oh,
So,
that stabilizes it. but
yeah.
They didn't look very huge. All right. Any questions from Marla on any of the items? Okay, hearing none. Let's move on to other business. Update on proposed revisions to subdivision.
I'm bringing this to your attention because I attached to the Zoom documents a memo or an email, excuse me, that I sent to the Thompson Planning and Zoning Commission on April 26th. And I sent it to all the commission members and with copies to a number to this commission as well as to the Director of Planning and the Zoning Enforcement Officer. I did not get any response to this email. And the request that I made in the email was to adopt a revised net buildable area into the zoning regulations prior to the adoption of any subdivision regulation changes containing shared driveways. And I had emailed them information prior to this, so I summarized that in this email. As a result of this, one of the commission members, the Planning and Zoning Commission members, John Lanke, happened to stop in the Wetlands office just to say hi, and I asked him about, you know, net buildable area and why there isn't anything. And he at first didn't seem to see the need for the net buildable area, but once I explained it all to him, he suggested, well, you should come to the Planning and Zoning Commission and explain it to them the way you've explained it to me, because now I understand. And I told him that I couldn't do that without the consent of this commission, because I don't think it's appropriate. And I am staff for the Inland Wetlands Commission. And if the Inland Wetlands Commission wants me to make the case before the Planning and Zoning Commission, then it should be telling me that that's an acceptable course of action for me to take. So the information is still the same, except for one thing. In the course of doing more research on floodplains, because we've had some recent, you'll notice on the Inland Wetlands website, I sent you a notification. I think I mentioned it at the last meeting that I added a link for the proposed new FEMA floodplain mapping. So I was doing still more research, and I came across a section in the zoning statutes, section 8-2L, which talks about, it says, whenever a municipality pursuant to the National Flood Insurance Program is required to revise its zoning regulations or any other ordinances regulating a proposed building, structure, development, or use located in a floodplain, the revision shall provide for restrictions for flood storage and conveyance of the water for the floodplains that are not tidally influenced as follows. And then it lists 3 items, and they're pretty restrictive. This was the subject of a public act in 2004. As you can see, PA 04-144, section 1. So I know that I had originally been involved with the flood prevention ordinance that was established in 1988. That ordinance established the building official as the administrator of it and the Conservation Commission as the appeal agency. At that time, the Conservation and the Inland Wetlands Commission were combined. Then back in 2006 or 7, the Conservation and Inland Wetlands Commission split, but they didn't change the authorizing ordinance for the floodplain prevention. And so when Carolyn Wurge and I were talking about it in 2013, we thought we would just change the name from the Conservation Commission to the Inland Wetlands Commission. And at that time, I contacted Diane Ivkovic, who is the coordinator for the NFIP program for the state of Connecticut. And I asked her if we could do this, and she said, well, send me your ordinance because there's probably some changes that needed to be done. And she replied back to the board of, I think it was the Board of Selectmen, and suggested that there were a whole bunch of things that needed to be changed. And my guess is now that that was caused by changes in the National Flood Insurance Program, but because there have been no map changes for the town of Thompson, FEMA was not asking for the town to change its ordinance. However, now there is a proposal to change the mapping in Thompson, which would probably, I talked to Diane Ivkovic today, and she said that that will probably be coming forward within another year, 18 months at the most. So she said at that point in time, she would be sending out letters telling the towns that they would have to change their ordinances or their regulations to be compatible with the new requirements of FEMA. So this is coming down the road to the town that it's going to have to change the way it does its business when it comes to FEMA floodplains. So that makes it even more important to have a net buildable area identified in the zoning regs now before the subdivision regs get changed, because the change in the FEMA mapping is going to trigger a requirement to change the ordinance. And the ordinance change is going to have a significant effect because it's going to also include the statutory change that occurred in 2004. So this is a really complicated matter, and I really think the Planning and Zoning Commission should get educated in this.
Excellent summary, Marla. And I think that at least from, I'd be interested to know if how the commissioners view, if I recap, basically the net buildable area will impact a number of factors and ultimately impact the inland wetlands and water courses in the state if not addressed at many levels. It requires a high level of technical expertise and understanding of these matters, which although we've got some excellent folks on the Planning and Zoning Commission, sometimes it's difficult for staff to have a comprehensive understanding of these issues. With that said, then it would be my hope that we could I would recommend at least, and I'd be curious if the other commissioners share my view, that we have our inland wetlands agent reiterate her written communications and in a very short format, bullet why you should consider, or these elements should be changed, net buildable area, because of the, why they should be changed in the planning and zoning regulations, and the consequences of not. I think, it's one thing to say something should happen, but so if I don't have, doesn't happen, what are the consequences? So I'd certainly be in favor of that, but I'd be interested in knowing what other commissioners feel. Commissioner Chapin? Yes?
I have a question. Don't the inland wetland regs have a net buildable area in their regulations?
No,
If I remember correctly, it was 3/4 of an acre.
no, the inland wetlands regs don't have net buildable area.
I think it used to, so I don't know what happened with that. But the other thing is, would it be more useful for Marla to present to them instead of just writing something?
Oh,
Because it could answer any questions.
yeah, I think that was present what she wrote. In other words,
Oh,
she
okay.
wrote it, and I said she should present it, highlighting, not reading it to them, but saying, look, this is what's being proposed. This is what the consequences of doing what's being proposed or not doing it. In other words, highlighting the differences. But yes, I think she should present, but
I think that's a great idea.
yeah. Commissioner Obert?
Yeah, Charlie over here. I agree also, and I think that it behooves us to make sure that ordinances are brought up to date. Wondering in the future, or even as to this point, when you sent a written correspondence to the planning and zoning, are you also giving a courtesy copy to the Board of Selectmen and to the town's attorney? This could become an issue in the long run.
For all of the, for my review of the subdivision regulations, I have included the First Selectman Amy St. Ange, not the total Board of Selectmen. As the chief executive elected official of the town, I try to always keep that individual informed of actions that I've taken or done. One of the things that I am going to be doing is forwarding to Amy and to Tira, the Director of Planning, the information that I received from Diane Ivkovic and back in 2014, along with my memo to the Board of Selectmen recommending that they don't modify the flood prevention ordinance until we get digital mapping, which we knew was coming down the road, because the changes that were going to be proposed by FEMA were going to be very onerous upon property owners unless we had it in a GIS format. And the current maps are not in a GIS format, but the new ones will be. So hopefully we'll end up having a layer placed on MapGeo that will identify the new digital FEMA mapping. And it'll make it easy for a person to know whether or not they're in where the FEMA floodplain is in relation to their property boundary. So that I will be sharing with Tira and Amy, or the Board of Selectmen if that's what you wish, because the memo originally went to the Board of Selectmen, and of course with administration changes, things get lost. And luckily I didn't lose it.
Charlie over here. I agree, things get lost, and that's why I think it would behoove us to make sure that a number of the selectmen get the copy of this. We probably won't have all three of them replaced all at once, so it's more likely we'll have continuity.
Okay, I can do that. So when I forward the scans of those documents to Tira, I will also include all the Board of Selectmen with an explanation as to what I have found since then and where the direction it's going, so that they're aware what concerns might be for revising the flood prevention ordinance in the future.
So if I could add, Commissioner Obert has something else. You're going to present to the next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting?
Well, if not this month, then the following month.
All right.
Because what I would like to do is try to develop a PowerPoint presentation to be more explicit so that they could understand it better. And that's going to take me a little time.
Sure. Okay.
And by the way, I don't have any staff time left.
Well, That's a discussion.
That's another, another issue.
If you do that, I would suggest that if you're going to bring it before them, I'd give them 3 points. This is why you should do it or why you shouldn't do it. So, and say, if they want to back it up, here's a volume to read about, because, you know, it's for most of us, these are technical issues and they can get lost. It's almost like you could forget the question by the time you get to the end of the discussion. So I'd say, don't do it because of this reason, or that reason, or another reason. Well, here are the consequences if you do nothing, or here's the consequences if you do what you're planning. So that's I would encourage that approach, as well as the documentation.
What complicates it even more, if I'm recommending a 15,000 square foot net buildable area and the minimum lot size for a district is 1,500 square feet, it's not going to work. That means they actually have to change the lot size on the zone. So it's more than just simply creating a net buildable area. It's also changing what the lot size is, minimum lot size.
Well, I guess it's important to identify it and make it publicize it and make sure every commissioner and the planning and zoning commission is aware of it, so that they can, you know, make an informed decision. And that's the best we can do. Great. So please do that. And I don't know how you're gonna find the time, but we'll have to find some way.
That's why I might not get to it for this month. They're meeting in June, but I should be able to do it in July. We'll be in a new fiscal year.
Okay. That was the last part of the proposed subdivision. So now we have the section I, which is citizens' comments. And do we have any citizens' comments at this point? I see 1 or 2 citizens, so I don't see any comments.
No comments. I was late. I showed up at 8 and was at 7. I thought.
For the record, if you could, please just simply identify your name and address.
Sean Copeland, Copeland Builders. I was action item on older business.
Oh, well.
Perhaps we can help Sean out. Your application was approved. You'll be getting a copy of the approval in the mail. You will still need to apply to the town for a revised driveway permit for that.
Okay.
You'll have to contact Donna in the building office on that.
Thank you so much. If there's anything else you need, just let me know.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Any other citizens' comments?
This is Valerie Clark.
Yes, Ms. Clark, could you identify your name and address?
Sure. Valerie Clark, 105 Elm Road. I'm not able to appear on video because I'm on my phone and no camera. I want to thank Marla for all of her diligence, particularly with the issue of net buildable area. And I do just want to voice a concern that I hope that the subdivision regulations don't move forward faster than Marla is able to present to the P&Z. And I think that's all I had to say tonight. But again, Marla does a wonderful job. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. All right. Any other citizens' comments? Okay, hearing none. Moving on to reports. We have budget and expenditures.
Yes, Commissioner Chapin. Let's see, the budget, we have spent 88.1% of our budget through May 26th. And we still have an available budget for the balance of the year of $3,149.22, having encumbered $140, which appeared to be legal notices. And then also the budget for the coming year was proposed at 26,359. It was actually approved at 27,424. So we ended up with more than a little over $1,000 more in the budget being approved than what we had expected. So you can use that for your planning and zoning time, Marla.
There you go.
Just a comment, the amount on the report from May 26th had $751 available. That would not cover my salary for the month of June. So there is going to be an over expenditure from my salary because of all the time that I spent reviewing the subdivision regulations. And I have been assured by First Selectman St. Ange that whatever overages would get covered by however they do their magic at the end of the year. So I'm fully expecting to go over budget by the end of the year.
Good enough,
Okay.
time well spent.
All right. Diligence. So that's budget. Thank you very much. We don't have to vote on that, do we? No.
Negative.
All right. Wetlands agent report.
Okay, well, it's a very short report. No progress has been made on the MS4 2019-2021 annual report, or the MS4 contracts, or the records disposal, or the drafting of the Inland Wetlands Commission regulation amendments. My next focus is going to be on the Inland Wetlands regulations, because they were 3/4 of the way done. And if you recall, what was outstanding was coming up with a new fee structure that I needed to do more research on. And I have some concerns about the use of conceptual subdivision approvals for subdivisions that have discharges and stormwater drainage systems. Those really need permits. They don't need conceptual approvals. So that's coming down the road in another couple of months. On follow-up inspections, this regards 117, 119, and 0 New Road. We talked about that with the Sean Copeland application. I am still investigating how that new water flow was created at 117 New Road, affecting the properties at 119 New Road. That was the Copeland application, and 0 New Road. That was the one where Superior Stone was allowed to come in and take stone walls off of the Star Road property that were internal to the property, using that property as access. I spoke to the property owner, Mr. Gray, today, and he said that they are almost done with the stone removal work and that they were going to spread out the stone. He did ask me, could he use the stone in the area where there was water flowing? And I told him that I was not going to have an objection to it. Technically, it's an intermittent water course, but I believe that once I end up finding out the information about why there is water coming out in front of 117 New Road's house, the indications may be that because they hit an artesian condition, that they have tried to take advantage of that to create a pond. But that then means any grading and construction work within 100 feet of that is going to become subject to regulation. And the thought that is going around in my head now is that they could potentially place a valve on that artesian condition and shut off that water and forget about having a pond in the front of the house. It's only just been something that was created within the last 9 months. And so they may find that the water table in that location is going to drop a lot in the summer, and they won't have any excess water, and they'll end up with a mud hole. So maybe something that they really don't want to try to create. But that's down the road. Still got to do that investigation. I opened up a new complaint 2205 after receiving an anonymous letter about a septic system being replaced at 521 Brandy Hill Road. If you recall, this was one of the properties that was subject to a retaining wall replacement by J&D last year by Milan. I think the name was Jerry Molino. And this was one of the properties on which the retaining wall was located. So Dan and I, the same day we went out and saw Mr. Bear's property, saw this property, and I found that the septic system replacement occurred outside of the 100-foot upland review area for Craddock Reservoir. It was well enough back, so that complaint file's been closed. I reviewed 13 building permits. I don't have anything miscellaneous to talk about, and there was a couple of encumbrances for legal notices for Strategic Commercial Realty and for the Dolan and the Addington applications, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Marla regarding her report? Hearing none, we'll move on to correspondence.
And that is in error. I said there was none. There really is some correspondence, and I don't believe you have it. I will bring it to you at the next meeting because there's nothing critical.
Okay.
Just some magazines.
Of course, Connecticut Wildlife March magazine, DEP permit applications for use pesticide.
Yes. So that was in the agenda, but it's not in the Zoom documents.
Okay.
So apparently DEP is in the process of soliciting comments for the new, the integrated water quality report. That comes out every 2 years. So for the 2022 version, they had, what I can do is I can post this on the Wetlands Commission's website under resources and advice so that you can get to the links. I did check the integrated, the draft report, and there's no changes for Thompson. There's no new impaired waters. There's no delisting of impaired waters. It's still Quintessent Brook and Wheaton Brook. And there's a TMDL for Long Branch Brook and for portions of West Thompson Lake.
Okay.
So I'm not going to have any comments on it because there's been no real changes.
Right then. So we're done with the correspondence. Signing of Mylars, we have none.
No.
Commissioners, comments by commissioners. Any comments?
It's Commissioner Chapin. I will just echo what Valerie Clark had said earlier with Marla fully supporting everything you're going, bringing up to the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the zoning regulations. And, you know, perhaps you can use the floor to raise any concerns you have when you represent the commission with the planning and zoning.
Thank you, Commissioner Chapin. Any other commissioners, comments? Commissioner Obert?
Charlie Obert here. I also agree with what was said about the quality of work and support that we're getting from Marla. Wondering, is there any possibility that we can bring in, I don't know, a consultant to help expedite this stormwater plan that has gotten pushed back and back and back?
Yeah, the original report, they use a format on that was supplied by Yukon Clear, and I was not using that format, and I was converting the information to that format so that a consultant could do future reports. And J&D was the entity that was indicating a willingness to perhaps participate in. I don't know if they still are or not, because they're integral right now to all of the stormwater drainage system mapping. The problem becomes complicated because a lot of the work that's required to be done under the MS4 permit has to come through the Public Works Department. And as you know, there is no Public Works Director, and the acting Public Works Director has left. So there's a hole there. And so I've been trying to work with Kelly Jennis, who is just the administrative assistant for them. She's very good, by the way. But there are things like when work gets done that could be reported on the MS4, somebody has to be keeping track of that. Kelly can do that, but there's nobody really there to be setting the priorities for MS4. And until they get a Public Works Director, this is going to be a little, I wouldn't send it out to a consultant yet. They really need to get a Public Works Director on board to you know, because this is really that office's responsibility more than it is, say, Wetlands or the Selectman's office.
Okay. I do have some comments. First, I want to thank Marla and Amy and Dan and Bryce for setting up the hybrid meeting. I know that the Inland Wetlands Commission's been has been operating from remote since March of 2020. So it's been over 2 years, and I've certainly encouraged the advancement of the technology which we have here, which is really great. So thank you, Amy. And you know, we're getting there. It's just a process, and you know, we're getting better. So that, and secondly, I wanted to acknowledge that the hard work Marla is doing, especially in these technical areas, which, you know, it's very technical. When you get FEMA, you know, flood hazard management areas, I work with this in my business technology, but still there's a whole level of engineering and environmental impact that is, we're all blind to it until it happens, and we have to live with it. And, at the end of the day, there's only so many wetlands out there to protect, and that's part of our charge. So kudos to everyone for working at it, and, we're getting paid so much to do this, so it's a huge effort on everyone's part. So that's all I have to say. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, made. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Chapin, I'll second.
Okay, motion made and second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
No opposition. The meeting of the June 14th, 2022 in the Wetlands Commission for the town of Thompson is ended now at, I don't have a clock in front of me, but it looks like 8:30. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Ann.
George.
Thanks,
Night,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks, Dan.